Welcome back to This is JOB, the podcast. It's Aloha Friday on the North Shore of Oahu. We're sitting here with a special guest, a special friend, probably a person that I've known my whole life, basically on the North Shore since he was a little baby to, winning Wave of the Winter, X, Y, and Z. I'm sure you guys all know him, Mr. Nate Florence. Welcome, brother.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah,
Stoked.
No worries. Super psyched. You and Koa started a podcast. You guys got me psyched, but the same person that got you guys psyched was Bert. And basically, we're here because of Mr. Bert.
Yeah, shout out to Bert. It was interesting because he told us it was like the same way you told Koa and I about YouTube and search and start your channel, control your content.
Yes.
It came full circle, and Bert came to us and was like, "What are you guys doing? Like, you got the YouTube, you got the Instagram, like, get on the podcast game."
Yeah.
And so we both kind of scrambled and we got to it first.
I was like, well, Nate was like on this trip and he was traveling around the world, like Europe, Africa, like who knows where he was. I'm like, I'm gonna beat him to the punch on the podcast.
You were so psyched.
And I was just like tinkering and like ordering like the table and the mics and like it's actually a lot of work that like went into it. And then next thing you know, I see Koa and Nate launch. I'm like,
damn it.
But I ain't gonna lie, I was like a little jealous, right? I was like, come on, Nate, like, come on, we could have started a podcast together, buddy.
Yeah, you should have hit me up.
Yo, whatever.
You were secretly setting up for months.
I know. I was trying to sabotage you and Koa before you could sabotage me, but
that's
you guys.
right. We set up just in a backyard with 2 chairs and 2 handy cams.
You definitely did.
You hit the game pretty official. We only just got official on ours and got the mics.
I feel like I had to come in official if like eventually one day we'd have like some sponsors and like people would be like, oh yeah, we'd like to sponsor this. This thing looks great. Because as of now, like this is just a big money pit that I threw a bunch of money at and I'm just like scratching my head. I'm like, I don't know. And it's pretty hard to kind of continue on and bring in. It's fun to bring guests on and talk story and catch up, but like at the same time, like I don't know, I'm taking on a lot.
So this is what we found with having a friend or a host or like a co-host, was, and I made this point. I was like, look, we don't want to be, or I felt we didn't want to be reliant on a guest to come on every time.
Totally.
And I was like, dude, we can just chat to each other. And so it just makes it easy because you already know the juggle is real. You've got 10 different content channels and we're constantly trying to produce on every one. And how can we make a new channel and where it's like original content and an easy conversation and it doesn't feel like a big task, right? And so me and Koa thought about it that way. And then we just pulled it off, and it makes it so that we feel how we do now, right?
Yeah.
You're a close friend.
Yeah.
I can come in here. I'm not like I'm nervous going for an interview.
No.
I can come in and sit down with my buddy James, and we just sit and have a convo.
Yep, totally. I think what the funny thing is when I first started trying to do these podcasts, I was like really nervous, and I'd write down like 50, 60 questions. I was kind of like engaged to ask the person that would be on the podcast with me, and then also like maybe if I message Eli Hanneman, he would be into it. Or maybe he's going to not want to do the podcast.
Maybe he'll say no to me and I'll have rejection.
So basically I've been like struggling with that one. Like, I'm like, I know a lot of people. Like, I feel like I'm a good person doing a lot of good things. Like maybe if I asked somebody to come on my channel, that they would be interested in doing a podcast with me. And so far, I have a great track record. Everybody I asked was like, we would love to be on your podcast. I'm like, oh, right on. Thank you. And obviously I wanted to get you on here as well.
You've had great guests. I've seen your guests, and you started with a bang with the full setup and having good guests right on and cool stories to go with it. And I think part of just them wanting to come on is one, a lot of us look up to you. A lot of the younger guys, you were professional before we were. And so there's a lot of respect there. And on top of it, you've built such a big media empire for yourself that it's a benefit for a lot of those guys to come on. They want to be seen by your followers.
Yeah.
You've probably been one of the best surfers in the world with getting yourself, your name, your content out as far as you possibly could globally. So for another surfer, it's a huge bonus for them to come on and be seen by your followers
on this platform. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, no, I totally agree. Like I'm a diehard content creator, and whether it was like Who is JLB the movies to Who is JLB the web series with Red Bull to starting my own YouTube channel to growing that to almost, we're nearing a mil. Well, maybe like we're like pretty far out, but still pretty close.
Getting there, yeah.
And I think it's hard work, dedication, and something that I really admire. What you've done is like, like from us just having a friendly conversation in the lineup, I'm like, yo, Nate, you should start a YouTube channel. And you're like, oh, so what's up with YouTube? And I was like, well, you could make videos and you can control all your content and control your image and build your brand. And you're like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. And then I told Koa Rothman, and Koa was like, no, that's pretty interesting, and they're all like, ah. And then I told John, I'm like, John, you should start a YouTube channel, because I feel like a lot of guys, like, they would start is it the Vimeo? No, what website did they used to do private videos on? Vimeo. So everyone would go to Vimeo and they could hide their views. And I felt like it was this like, oh yeah, I ripped so hard, but I'm not going to show you how many views this thing gets. And
dude, it was the Vimeo thing was the weirdest thing to me.
Yeah. And
it was exactly like you said, let's put all this work into this crazy edit that no one's going to see.
No
one is going to see it on Vimeo.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like this foot half in, half out. I don't want the views to be seen because then someone might see that I don't get any views.
Yes.
Which is cool with YouTube. And like you said, you pushed us to start our channels. And when we start our channels, you see who is going to pull a YouTube channel or not going to pull a channel. Yeah. Some are not cut out for it.
It happens really quick.
It does. And the guys that are, the channels excel pretty quickly.
Yeah, they grow.
You see it in the views. Yep. And you see the guys who care and they want to give back to their subscribers and they want to make good content for their guys. And those are the channels that are going to do well.
Exactly. And so it's like I talked, basically, if you're listening to this podcast, like I talked John Florence into starting a YouTube channel. That's pretty sick. Pretty sick. And then I talked Koa Rothman and Nate Florence. And then therefore they become my competitors.
Yeah. The Padawan surpasses the master.
but like my thing is like, you don't have a platform without competitors. So I think, it was the greatest gift that I could give, you or Koa or John, like to give me a competitive rival. Like I look at your content, I look at your thumbnails, I look at what you guys are doing, I look at what Koa's doing, I look at what John's doing, I look at what Surfline's doing. I'm just like, I do my homework. I'm there every day on YouTube.
Well, creates a constant information loop, right? Yep. So we all learn, hey, that's working.
Yeah.
Like I can incorporate that in my own way, or that's not working. I don't have to do that. And on top of it, it shows the world, say we were all on Instagram before.
Yep.
The more people say, hey, there's surf on YouTube, the better it is for every channel that's on YouTube because people realize, oh, it's not just on Instagram. I can go on YouTube, look up surf, and I'm going to get a whole bunch of content on it.
Exactly. I think I used a couple of your titles this year. It was like you were like banking off this whole like hectic paddle out at massive Uluwatu, and then I was like that's the worst title I've ever heard in my life. And then I'm like kind of thinking to myself, like, maybe it's kind of good. And then you're like hectic paddle out at like in some other place, Scotland, and I was like, yeah. Damn, this thing's doing pretty good. I'm like, boom, hectic surf session in Mexico.
Next thing I know, I see Koa, hectic paddle out at Aukai
with John Florence. Yeah. I was like, wow.
I was like, damn it.
I think I called you and I was like, dude, what happened there? He's like,
they stole
my brother, my title.
You know who was actually behind that? John.
Oh, yeah?
As competitive as he is, but maliciously told Koa, hey, you should copy Nate and put this title on your YouTube to mess with him.
That's what John does.
Yeah, he loves that.
He's a little prankster that feeds off of strange things.
He learned from the weirdest.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because I talked about this, and we talked about this when John came on me and Koa's podcast. And I said, hey, what gave you your drive to start doing content so early, right? He was making films early.
Yeah.
And he looked at us and he said, well, Jamie did. Yeah. He said, when I was growing up, it was all about surf films, right?
Yeah.
And he said the guys that I saw and liked watching and who were making was surf films. You were doing your own free films. And there was like Psycho Freak and there was like a trilogy, I think.
Yeah, we did like Who is JLB was the main movie. Then it was Freak Show and Freak Side.
It was just interesting to me because at that time, doing something like that as a surfer, like, of course, guys went out of their way and did this big film project. once every 2 years.
Yeah.
But you were consistently doing films, and that was early in the, maybe even like the first to take content really into your own hands and say, hey, I'm not going to rely on the magazine to maybe give me a cover or a 2-page spread. I'm not going to rely on some other Kai Neville to come grab me and make me part of their film. I'll do my own films.
Yep, totally.
And guys like John saw that and then took that model, and next thing you know, he's created Done, and then View from a Blue Moon. One of the best surf films ever.
For sure. I remember actually talking to John, and I was like, oh, so what have you been up to? And he's like, oh, I don't know. Kai Neville's trying to get me going on this trip. And like Kai Neville was like the second, like there was Taylor Steele, then there was Kai Neville, and like everyone wanted to be in Kai Neville's film and still Taylor Steele's film. But like apparently like he was like, John was telling me, he's like, well, I don't know, like I don't really want to go, like, but they're trying to pay for my ticket, and they're trying to pay me a fee to actually show up. And I was like, damn, they must want you bad.
Yeah.
Like,
at that point, that's crazy.
Yeah, crazy.
But now it's like, that's kind of like, to us, it would be like, oh, like why would I come film for yours thing? And I could film for my own channel, you know, like. But at that point, that must have been pretty wild to be offered money to go do a film.
Oh yeah, because he was like stomping huge backflips, and he was like the guy, like he still is, but like they knew if I could get John in this movie, we're gonna sell at least 100,000 more copies.
Is the first inkling of like, oh, the athletes actually have power if they realize their own value.
Yeah. When you start saying no to some surf trips, and then they start trying to configure it like, well, we'll fly you and your girlfriend out first class, and we'll actually pay you for surfing in our film.
Yeah, it's interesting because most surfers have the mindset of just hoping for a shout out.
Yeah, exactly.
And so when a surfer finally makes that switch, it's huge for them.
Yeah, I mean, like, and then like, I like how you're like controlling all your own content. You got your YouTube channel. You haven't been on TikTok in a month, but that's okay. you're hustling. You're hustling like every single channel. Like you're kind of like weirdly, like I would maybe say feeding off of kind of what I'm doing, but I really like what you're doing because I feel like your hard work and your talent, and you can't beat that. Like you're hustling to shine your light in this world.
Yeah, and thanks. That means a lot to me, and it feels good when you start to feel the payoff from that, right? A lot of guys, I feel like, take for granted the job we have.
Yeah,
we get to surf for a living.
Yeah,
what do we love to do? We love to surf, so we're getting paid to surf. So you add a little grind, a little hard work, a little, hey, I'm not going to sit on the island in the summers.
No,
I'm going to get out there, and I'm going to spend, like in the beginning, it was like you said, how this podcast started. Like I wasn't making no money off YouTube.
No,
I just was like, you know what? This is an investment.
Yep.
First year, no money made, just me pumping money into it.
Investing in yourself.
Investing in myself. And then traveling.
Yep.
I would go all summer travel, come home with zeroed out on bank accounts.
Yeah.
But now, because of those investments, it's paid off. The brand deals get bigger. The views get bigger. Everything comes back.
Contracts get bigger. Mm-hmm. But I remember you're like telling me, you're like looking at me in the lineup at Pipe. We have all these weird conversations in the lineup at Pipe. It's like, it's a constant like banter of conversations. And, I remember like, I'm like, hey, Nate, like start a YouTube channel. You're like looking at me like, yeah, but I'm not paying somebody X amount of dollars a month to film me. Oh, yeah, right. And I'm like, no, but you like got to, because like it takes money to make money. And it's so cool to like sit here with you 3-4 years later, and you're like, dude.
It's so true, man. At those times, it's scary, right?
Yeah.
It's scary to put that money out and not think like, oh man, is it gonna pay off?
Yeah.
But
that's like, well, like if you're like sitting here listening to this podcast, like, I threw $30,000 at this setup right here. It took me 4 months to set up, a lot of configurating with the team, Jacob and Bill. Thank you. And like just the CNCs, the carpets, the couches. I hate shopping. I can't do it. Like, and trying to figure out where we're going to put it, how we're going to do it. It's just like, I made so many mistakes along the way, but
that's part of it. That's part of it. Creating success, I think, is just trying. If it doesn't work, you move to the next thing.
I got to keep trying here. I'm like, I like this. I think it's a fun platform, but like, ooh, that grind, like you say, like not having that partner, like you probably should have partnered up with me, but like, like maybe I'll partner up with John. No. But like, like, oh, like that's what I was telling the team lately. I'm like, wow, like, man, we're going to keep chasing these people down.
Well, it's interesting too, because you create a channel like with this, what we're doing here, where it doesn't rely on us going and surfing some life-threatening wave. You know, it's so different than the content we've created before.
This is so easy.
Yeah.
You sit down and you turn on the lights, you press record, and you're rolling and you're having a great conversation.
But we can do this because you have all those years of experience in the ocean.
Yeah.
We have all this knowledge in our heads that might be a simple out the back in the lineup conversation between us.
Yeah.
But to the average surfer, that information could be gold.
They want to know.
They want to know what happens out the back at pipe. They want to know what a duck dive is, or how to do it in a certain section, and what this section does, and what that wave was like. You know, all the information we may take for granted at times to someone else is super interesting because they're in that learning process we were in 15 years ago.
Yeah. So I got a question. So when you're paddling out the pipe and I'm out of pipeline, what are you thinking? Like what's your attack at pipeline? And you're like, Jamie's out there.
First thing I think is like, okay, maybe I'm timing this window right.
And that's what, so that's like maybe Jamie's not out there.
It's like, no, if you're in the water, then I'm assuming you've looked at the conditions and you know the window better than I do.
Well, I kind of feel the same way about you. I'm like, well, if Nate and Co are out there, like I'm gonna.
It's probably good waves coming in.
Yeah, and
the second thing is like I'm gonna catch less waves this session.
But you're pretty aggressive. You kind of piss me off sometimes out there. You're like you all and I was talking to John about this. You always like think it's your turn. Like I don't know why, but you know it's not your turn. So it's like if I like kind of bulldog you and then like we kind of like go through this like mental thing paddling for a wave, but you're like and then you end up like trying to go right and then you're which way are you going? And I'm like right. And you're like okay, I'll go left. Like, he's a dirty little guy.
I have like this weird opportunist mindset at pipe. Right? There's guys that surf it differently. They're like, I'm gonna go sit out there and I want this really specific wave in my head, which we all do. But for me, it's like that's kind of like back burner. If it comes and I'm in position and it's my turn, I'll go on that way. But I want to stay busy. I want to catch a lot of waves. And sometimes that rubs people the wrong way.
Yeah, but you're Nate Florence. We'll let you slide.
We know the priority order at pipe. And
but I'm always like keeping you in check. Like, hey, how was that last one? Like,
totally.
You know, I'm like,
so funny those small social cues that you'll throw out to remind the other guy. You know, it's not his turn.
I'm kind of, but I butter you up after you caught the wave, or like if you paddle for a wave and you're waiting like 30 minutes and you missed it, and you're like, I'm going, and you miss it, and then I'm kind of like, oh, that's a bummer. You missed that one, huh? Like, oh, and then you're kind of like, you're like psychologically like telling Nate Florence that he's in the back of the line now.
Yeah, it's totally like that. It's the most bizarre lineup in the world. And to that point, like even your positioning, right? Like I've seen you. No, it's not necessarily. I mean, you have priority a lot of time, but when you've caught a lot of waves, you might know it's not really your turn to go on the next one. You see the set coming and you purposely throw the crowd off by jetting one direction, then jet back the other direction. And so you've thrown off a bunch of guys that are looking to you on positioning. They see you jet one way, the whole crowd will shift. That's what's crazy about pipe is because of the level of surfers out there. There's a lot of surfers looking at John or Jamie, seeing what they do, where they go, and
they follow me around.
They follow around.
Oh, hate it.
And so they'll see you jet. The whole crowd will move towards Gums or Ayukai.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, with those long ass arms, you're jetting back the other way, and you're deeper than anyone, and in position, and everyone's out of position.
You know what I do when I see like a 3-wave set and they're like popping up on the horizon? I'm like, oh yeah, like, and I paddle over the first one. I act super interested to Nate. I'm like, Nate, you gonna go? And then I'm like, I'm trying to salesman you, like, oh yeah, you're gonna go. This one looks pretty good, but I'm already in my mind. I'm going for the next one. I'm just trying to outfool you because you're one ahead of me in the pecking order. And sometimes I just sell you on these dreams, and you won't even catch it. Or like, oh my god, that wave was so bad.
I'm the worst. I get sold. John does it to me bad too. I'm
yeah.
just hyped. I'm trusting my friends.
I feel like I feel like when you and I paddle for a wave, like maybe like 80% of the people don't paddle, but like when John and Koa and Makua paddle, maybe that goes to like 95%.
Bro, that goes to 99%.
Yeah, they just want to see him surf. They're kind of like probably more flustered that like maybe we could like mad dog like Nathen or Jamie, but like they see like Koa or Makua or like John. I mean, everyone just wants to watch John surf, and then you know, Koa and Makua is like they're just as real as it gets out there. And
totally, I see the lineup part for John.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And he just caught a wave.
Yeah.
And they're parting again.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they would not let that. They would close ranks on me if I had just looped back around.
No, but it's so cool because like even like when Makua is going, like Makua is like one of the best surfers at pipe. You know, we want to see him out there more and more every year, and so is Koa. Like sometimes Koa is taking off in a weird place that kind of like I'm like, God, he's so deep. Like, but I like the way he thinks. He just takes off deep, and he's like, I'm not gonna be stalling. I'm gonna be pumping and trying to barely make this wave to make it the best possible right up pipeline.
Those are the best pipe waves, and that's like I said. Like Koa goes out to pipe with a very specific wave in mind. I feel.
Yes.
I've seen him sit and wait so long.
Oh yeah.
To where everyone else in the lineup has anxiety. Like, what wave is he gonna choose? You know,
yeah.
like, and a lot of times he does get that wave of the day because he puts the time in and waits for it, and he's sitting 20 foot deep on that boil.
Yeah.
And it's always that thought in your head, like, God damn, Koa's deeper than me again.
Yeah, he always does
you
that.
know, you always have to think about it. And even when he does catch the wave, he goes straight back to that position.
But you do it too. And then when it's you, Koa, and John, you guys feed off each other.
It's so bad.
And I'm like trying to get some of my boys together. I'm like, all right, we'll get Kalani Chapman and like freaking Flynn Novak over there, and we'll freaking, you know, like, what's up, boys?
That's so funny. And we sabotage ourselves because I'll go sit on the left side of Koa. John will go sit on the left side of me.
So
Koa
weird.
paddles around everyone again. Next thing you know, we're like in the off the wall channel.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys end up there a lot. I love when Makua paddles out because he just tells people straight how it is. He's like when Makua tells you to go, you're on. Like, and then you're like, are you gonna go, Makua? He's like, no, go. Like Makua is actually one of my favorite people to surf pipeline with because he's like, there's so much like common respect for each other, and like we grew up together, and like I feel like most people maybe wouldn't want to surf with Makua. I'm like, yeah, Makua paddled out because like there's like the lineup changes when Makua's out there.
That
like,
old school regulation comes into play.
There's nobody else that could regulate pipeline like Makua, Kai Rothman.
Yeah, it's great to see.
He's a real deal, dude.
Yeah.
He's a, you know, he's a family man. He's a musician. He's a, you know, big wave world champion. Like just so many things that he's ticked off the box. It's insane.
It is insane. He's literally gone into every aspect of the sport. Competitive in small waves, competitive in big waves.
Yep. He's a
swell chasing.
Yeah.
20-foot chopes. Okay.
Yeah, no problem.
Giant Fiji. Sure.
Yeah, Laird told me in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course.
It's insane.
Yeah. I remember he caught like the freaking like 70-foot wave when he was like 17. I was just kind of, dude, I got my word cut out. That's like one of my boys.
I was in elementary school, and then he won the world record at the time. It was like the biggest wave of the year, 66 foot at Jaws. We were like, what?
Yeah. When I go into Uncle Eddie's house, there was like a huge poster, and it's the what was it called at the time? The Billabong XXL Award, Makua Rothman, huge check, and then right next to it, there's this huge picture of Makua when he's like 16 or 17, riding like a 66-foot wave.
16 or 17, just going ballistic at huge Jaws.
Yeah, I was like just starting to get going at pipe. This guy already like just jumped out to a whole new level. So I wanted to ask, like, what's your plans this summer? Like, where is Nate Florence going to be? Where can some of these people that are listening to the show expect to see you?
I plan to go on just similar to what I did last year, just complete travel bender. I want to do Australia, Indo, Africa, Chile, Europe again. I want to be everywhere. I pretty much am at the point now where I want to leave Hawaii and not return until the waves return.
That's what you did last year.
And it was like the best year of my life. Like I literally had the best waves of my life more consistently than I've ever had. I somehow scored, but it was different. I'm so used to doing 1 week trip, one strike, get in for 3 days and bail.
Yeah.
I did months in each location. And so you're there for a month. You meet people there, you meet new friends, new surfers, and they're like, hey, how long are you here for? You're like, oh, I'm just on an open ticket. I'm cruising. They're like, well, this swell may not be good here, but it's going to be good down the coast. Like, let's go for a surf down at this new wave, this new location. So you meet new people, you learn new reefs, you surf new waves. It was just like such a different experience to spend time in new locations versus our traditional, what I was doing for years, which was just fly in on the red eye, surf the swell 2 days, bail back home.
Yeah. Totally.
I don't want to be home in the summer. I want to just be gone. And if the waves stop in the location I'm in, new location.
Yeah, I mean, I was like watching because I wasn't saying I was sitting at home. Like I was definitely doing my part and like doing where I want to travel. But like I'm like, boom, oh he's in Tasmania. Oh boom, he's in Australia. Oh boom, he's in freaking Scotland. And then I'm like, oh boom, he's in Ireland. Like at Maglemore. Like and I'm like, I saw that wave, and then I saw the waves. You got Lances, and I'm like, dude, he's like doing it all. And it's not like, like if you're listening to this, like Nate could just be sitting at home relaxing, or maybe he doesn't relax. He's always, every time I drive by the beach park next to Pipeline, this guy's like freaking jumping around and got a bunch of weights. And I don't even, I'm like, goodbye.
Yeah,
Won't see O'Brien over there. Don't call me, buddy.
Yeah.
But like just seeing kind of like your motivation of like attacking it, like that's what you call dedication, hard work, that like you could just put your feet up if you wanted to and not have to do barely any of that. And you said like you said, like do the 1 week trips. That's what I'm on. I'll just go do a 1 week trip. But I'm like, I don't know. How old are you now?
28.
Yeah. So I'm about 12 years older than you. So
you've been there, done that.
Yeah, but like I still I like have certain places I want to go to.
Yeah.
I feel like your mind is like when I was your age. Like I want to go everywhere. I want to surf every badass wave. I was ready to put my like everything on the line. Like
you were, yeah.
And I still am, but I'm kind of more like, man, I really want to enjoy this a little, because like I did what you did, where I would leave, and at the time they didn't have like e-tickets. They had like a ticket like book this thick, and I would go on tour. I would go do the whole thing. I would surf a bunch of waves. I'd get some good waves every once in a while, and I wouldn't come home for 5 or 6 months. I couldn't say I was enjoying it, but because I was trying to chase the tour to try and qualify. But you're kind of doing a different aspect. Like you're chasing the best waves in the world, and you know where you kind of want to be.
It's so interesting to me because it's the way the seasons work is the winter just goes around the globe.
Yeah.
And if you are prepared to sit on an airplane for a lot of your life, you can chase winter all around the planet.
Yes.
And you post up where the best seasons are, or like the best months of that season in that location are, you're kind of bound to score.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of that program. And it was like you said, it was a lot of work and a lot of money spent. But every time I would wake up and that swell would hit, and I would be surfing Lance's right with just my brother.
Yeah.
Because it's
the dream.
Too big for everyone. And it's like crumbling a little bit, some wash throughs. And everyone's like, I'm like, that's 10-foot barrels. I've been so surf for 4 hours. Insane, dude. And we just ended up jumping on the plane every time. When that season started that summer, I told all my friends, I said, every single bump I see in the ocean, I'm going to say yes to, and I'm just going to get on the plane and go.
Yeah.
I'm not saying no to any swell.
No regrets.
No regrets. And so it was interesting because we always usually chase where we'll sit home and we'll wait for that big once in a decade XXL swell, you know? But I was like, you know what? There is firing waves all around the planet. They might not be the millennium swell, but they're good, fun waves.
Yeah.
And so that was just the mindset, and it just paid off. It was great.
Perfect. I wanted to ask too, like, you being, your brother, John, like, how often do you see John compared to when you're a younger kid? Because to me, I feel like I never see him. He is such a hardworking hustler, like traveling the world. Like I feel like competition literally took over his whole life, and I don't ever see him. And I was just like wondering if like you're his brother, like every time he's home, you'll probably see him. But like compared to like when you're growing up versus now, like
what's that look like? It's far different. I like go 4-5 months in those summer seasons. Don't see him.
Sometimes I don't see him for 4 or 5 months in the winter, but the only place,
at home. Yeah.
But the only place I see him is at Pipeline.
Yes.
And then the first thing I say, I was like, "Hey, you didn't text me back." He goes, "Oh, well, I got like 3 phones." So he probably texted the wrong one.
He's super interesting. So he's like, he has always loved technology, but the whole phone thing, he's not super good with. He doesn't have Instagram on his phone.
Yeah, I know that.
So if he needs to use it, like he'll go take the process to log in or do all that. So he's totally clued out. He was tired of looking at other people in the constant feed and scroll. Like some people are just not into it. And he totally tuned out of that. Yeah. And I think it's like you said, he's so busy when that tour year comes around. He's so hyper focused for such a long amount of time that his attention span and his like want to go out and go be social or be in a public atmosphere is just gone.
Yeah.
By the time he comes home,
he's over it.
He's over it.
Yeah.
And on tour, he's over it. He wants to just be with his closest friends, maybe, or like if he's on tour or when he's home, he's just cruising like solo. He's like, where can we surf with no one around? Like, I'll see him a bunch because I'm a no pressure situation, right?
Yeah.
I'm not there pestering him for an interview or doing something or just throwing a camera in his face or anything.
Yeah.
Like, we'll go, oh, you want to go for a hike? We'll just go up the mountain, find a random trail, go for a hike, 30 minutes. You know, like he's all about that kind of stuff. Super down to earth, almost like hippie like.
Yeah, he's kind of a hippie. I think you got that from your mom.
Yeah, I think so too. And just that high stress environment for those 10 or 12 events that the tour is.
Yeah.
I think it burns guys out.
Yeah.
And there's a reason when you win a world title that they give you a year off. And I feel like sometimes when guys don't take those, the mental toll gets extreme.
Yeah. I mean, in my perfect world for John, obviously I'm not John, but like I would love to see him win a couple more world titles and then just enjoy his career, you know, like build the brand, win the world titles, and then just be John again. Cause I miss you, John.
Yeah.
I miss your little
our older brother
ass.
misses us. Uncle James. Dude, I can't wait for him to just like, it's so fun and exciting to watch him on tour.
Yeah.
But I was like, even this year, I was like, dude, quit that tour. You want the dream tour? Come with me.
Yeah.
Let's go chase waves, like insane waves.
That's what life's all about, right?
It is just it was so like the fun we could have, me, John, Ivan, Uncle James on a trip.
Yeah. Dude, we used to do trips back in the day.
Yeah.
We used to all go to Indo together. Me, you, John, Ivan, your mom, like we're like homies from like day one. That's why I always look at it. Like, like I've known you guys probably longer than most of every single one of your friends, you know. And I like that.
Yeah, dude. We were in Kahuku High School. Uncle James, can you come pick us up?
Yeah. Is the waves good?
Can you buy us poke and ice? In your Audi. You had like the sickest cars. John was just so fired up. He's like, Jamie's gonna pick us up. Like, you ready to go? I'm like, yeah, let's go. He's gonna meet us at the Superette.
I remember when John bought his first truck and he's like, Jamie got a better truck than you. I'm like, what? No, he didn't. Cause I had like the Cadillac Escalade and he's like, I just got a Raptor. And I was like,
fired up on
whoa,
that.
what's a Raptor? I started looking, I was like, damn. And then I think I saw a picture of John stuck in the sand with his Raptor. He thought he was all nuts. And I was just like laughing.
That was
like,
the first week of owning it.
It was,
Buried it to the frame in the sand.
Yeah. So my car was better, John. But you know what's funny about John is I'm pretty sure, does he still own his Raptor?
Yeah, dude. No, he finally sold it last year.
Oh my God.
He had it that whole time.
He probably had the car for like 15 years.
Dude, it got so rusted. There was like holes in the roof.
And there was like cockroaches and ants. It was like it was kind of the gnarliest Raptor I've ever seen. Like
it had its own ecosystem by the end.
You could have been like Ryan Sheckler and had like the best Raptor I've ever seen, or you could have the gnarliest Raptor. You jump in and you're like, whoa, dude,
what's that smell?
Yeah, like, he never cleaned it. It was like raining through the roof. There were freaking bugs crawling over your feet.
Yeah, it's so rogue.
Oh my God, buddy.
Sketchy.
I used to drive you guys to surf contests. Your mom was so cool. I used to go over to you guys' house and your mom would be like, you want to drive the boys to the surf contest this weekend? I'm just like, yes, I do. And she'd just give me her keys. Like I only had my permit and I would just drive you and John to contests. And it was like so fun. So fun having you guys as neighbors.
It was probably very fun tying our boards in the top of coconut trees and throwing dog poop at us.
Oh, we go there. Yeah. You guys are like, we always say it, like you're a brother from another mother. It's like our relationship is so like, it's so different, you know, like, it's like, if anyone's listening to this, it's like that person that you just grew up to your whole life. And like everything you kind of did was together at a young age. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what we were doing.
Totally. We were raised in the same neighborhood. Even we were raised in the house you were raised in.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys left the pipe. We were in your old house and you guys were over all the time. We were coming over your house all the time. And
we'd have boxing matches in the back of the yard at Pipeline.
Anything we could for your guys' entertainment.
Yeah, I think anything.
We were not entertained, but
I was trying to be entertained. And I got like I think it was like Nathen and like Kaikea boxing in the backyard. And I don't know, one of them ended up crying. I was like, maybe boxing's not a good idea.
Yeah, maybe we'll quit this one.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, tell me a little bit about Ivan. Ivan's been on a tear, you know, from contest to free surfing I'm just gonna just put it out there. Like, I'm sorry, Nathan. I'm sorry, John. Like, Ivan is the most stylish brother.
I 100% agree. Like I call him Mr. Cool.
Mr. Cool, yeah.
Because the guy is so steezy.
So steezy.
He's so laid back, and his style, skating, snowboarding, surfing, is insane. He has the best style out of all three of us. We've talked about it to each other. We all agree. And crazy, crazy natural talent.
Crazy.
Like the speed he can pick up tricks is insane, and his acceleration is in surfing is insane, especially over the last few years.
I think it's because the skating too really helped.
I agree. And he'll go snowboarding. He'll be punting backflips.
Yep.
Big backflips.
Oh yeah.
And he's not afraid of the big jumps. He's not afraid of the rails. Goes to the skate park. He's doing blunts and he's doing gnarly, like 20-foot Smith grinds, and like goes into the ocean. Oh, logs his 12-foot east winds. I'm going to go try backflips in the water.
Yeah.
I'm
no
like,
one does that.
You're psycho.
Yeah. Well, maybe like, and like, so Ivan's Mr. Cool. I feel like maybe you missed the little skate memo because John was really good at skateboarding. Like John can bust big airs. He could do almost, I wouldn't say every trick, but he is really good at the skate park. Like,
yeah, that was something our mom made us do very early on. We had the ramp in the backyard. We were skating all the time, and I skated too. I did a lot of it for a long time, but it got to where I just was like, I don't want to slam on concrete.
Yeah. It
would make me sick, the feeling of slapping concrete and just you're laying there crunched over for 30 minutes groaning.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't. I don't want to. I'll go surf 25-foot chopes, but I'm not going to the skate park and hanging up on the coping one more time. Yeah. I'm not doing it.
You're not looking for your trucks to grab on the top of that coping. You to face plant that freaking concrete.
What's really interesting though is the skating has caused Ivan to have this crazy pain tolerance.
Oh, really?
He has this insane pain tolerance. I've seen him slam so hard and he just does a little grunt, retries the trick.
Oh, wow.
We went on this crazy 4-day hike, 39 miles in the Kolau Mountains, 40-pound packs. Ivan shows up that day, twice the water as everyone, twice the food. I swear his pack was 70 pounds. He sounded like a little traveling tinker or something. There was like pans like clinking off his back. We're like, Ivan, it's way too much stuff. We got ground to cover. He did not make a single peep the entire trip. We got stormed on, wind flattened our tents. I woke up in the night and I'm like slamming pegs in my tent. I look over. Ivan looks like someone laid a wet sheet over him. His tent was so flat, it was a sheet over a body in the rain.
Wow.
He's snoring. He's sleeping through the night. He's just built different, dude.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's gotta be, yeah. You know, those are the trips. So like when John does reach out, he goes, hey, Jamie, do you want to go sail to Fiji? I'm like, well, you know, like,
it's like a huge commitment.
Yeah. I'm like, well, I got to like continue to like film vlogs and do my thing and keep my hustle going. I'm like, well, I don't know. How long are you going to go? He's like, well, I'll probably be down there for 2 months. But if you sail down, I'll be like, we'll probably take it. It'll be like 10 days and I'll hang out for a couple of weeks down there. And I was like, yeah, maybe if I see a swell, I'll just meet you down there, you know? And he's kind of like that. Like, oh, he's like, would you like to go hiking around Mount Kaala or around the freaking island? I'm just like, definitely not, buddy. No. Like he goes on these bizarre things and somehow he always ropes you and Ivan into it.
Totally.
Brotherly love.
He loves the things like the hike. He loves the group suffering session. And I think it goes back to just that high stress environment of competition. He wants to get away.
Yeah.
He wants to get on his sailboat and sail as far away from other people and crowds in the lineup and everything. He wants to get out and explore and do all that. That's like his favorite thing. I guarantee when he retires from tour, he's going to be on that boat for like a 6-month trip.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, speaking of sailing, John got me like super into sailing. He had this Hobie cat. I went sailing with them and he's like, you should buy a Hobie cat. And then I was like, okay, what kind of Hobie cat? He's like, go buy the Hobie 16. It's the fastest boat. We could do like sailing things and sailing races. He's very competitive. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I bought this sailboat. And then like while John was traveling around the world, I was like trying to learn how to sail like by myself after like 3 lessons from Kaikea. I'm like, well, how hard, or 3 lessons from John. I'm like, how hard could it be to sail this little boat? Next thing you know, like I'm getting rescued by the lifeguards. I'm like 3 miles out to sea. The lifeguards are sending John pictures of me, and John's freaking like just die laughing, like, you're such a Barney.
That's so funny. That was probably his favorite thing to see you get
He
rescued.
loved it.
He
Yeah.
loved it.
It was like when I was getting rescued like 3 miles out to sea, and I felt like like a kook. All I could imagine is like, I remember when John got he got his truck stuck in the sand. I was like, yeah. Oh, it's too fun.
It's interesting because you picked it up pretty quickly though.
It's fun.
I remember going out and you were on your guys' boat and you were cranking. We were going high speed. Those Hobie Cats go far faster than I like to go on a sailboat where you're just strapped into a little wire and you're cranking across the surface of the ocean. And so it's interesting to see like you guys pick up things really quickly.
Yeah.
Right? It's things you're interested in, a new sport, foiling picked up like that.
Yeah.
Hobie Cat, we'll get the Hobie 16s, pick it up like that. It's like, it's interesting, the high talent, how it transfers to other sports.
Those are the few things, like sailing. John got me into. I still got my boat. We haven't sailed in a long time, but John's been on some crazy other mission. He got a way bigger boat than a little Hobie 16.
I think it's good to I'm sure you agree. It's good to have things outside of just surfing that you're excited to do.
Exactly.
It's you need to have mini goals that are outside of surf. That you're not everything is all reliant on making you happy in surf. You can go and do something and get super fired up and stoked that doesn't have to do with the water.
Yeah, that's true. So I wanted to ask you, like, what was like a big moment for you in your career? Was it, like winning Wave of the Winter, or was it like what was the biggest like kind of like motivating thing that happened to you in your career?
I feel like it was like, I always think about this moment when I was like 15 years old and I was at that weird crux of like, what do I do like in surfing? Like, I'm not the best small wave surfer. I don't like, where does my career go from here? I want to be a pro surfer for sure. That's the goal. But how am I going to make this a career? Like, I don't think I'm a comp guy. I absolutely suck in contests. Like, and at that point I was like, I didn't know if I was a big wave guy, because I liked going and having fun at the sandbar with the rest of the kids and doing that kind of stuff. And pipe would get big and I would inch my way out and try to get a wave. But I was just like, it wasn't something I was like super passionate about yet. And I went on this trip for Vans when all the brands used to do those team trips. Yep. They were like much more popular pre-planned trips that people would go on.
They're the worst.
They were terrible. We got skunked a lot of times. This time we scored somehow. We went to Australia and I was with the Godowskis brothers. And the first wave we went to was ours. And I was like a Grom, and I did not sleep the night before. They're like, we're going to ours.
You were just scared.
I was fearing. I was the youngest guy on the trip, and I was like,
it's still scary.
Why am I on this trip? Like, what am I supposed to do? I paddled out. It was terrifying. It was small R's, and I was terrified. I did not catch a wave. Oh. And I was so, like, after the session, I just felt so embarrassed and, like, ashamed of myself. Like, oh, like, these guys probably just think you're a barn. Like, you're from Hawaii. Like, you didn't represent. We're supposed to be, like, the big wave guys. We're supposed to be gnarly. We were raised in the heaviest surf in the world. Like, and I just went out there and didn't catch a wave. Like, it literally sat with me and I like couldn't sleep over it. I was just stressed about the whole thing. So they're like, hey, you know what? This swell is actually going to go to ship sterns. And so we're going to chase it straight from ours to ship sterns. Wow. And I was like,
oh, here we go again.
Oh my God. Like, shoot. Like, I thought I'd have a month to prepare and get redemption, but it's going to happen in days, right? Yeah. And Mark Matthews had been around and helping us, and we get to ship sterns. And in my head, I was like, I need to get redemption over this. And we pull up out there, and immediately, like, that just side of your brain turns off. And I was just like, I don't want it. It's too scary. It's too big. Again, I was like feeling that pressure of like, I'm not going to be able to pull it. I'm just too scared. I'm freezing up. And Mark Matthews was like, hey, pulled up on the skis, like, grab the rope. And I was like about to say no, and he's like, grab the rope. And I was like, just a Grom, like, okay, grab the rope. And then he just whipped me into a bomb. And I got to the bottom of this wave. Over the step, I face plant.
No.
And as I'm falling, I'm like, this is exactly what I thought would happen.
And this is why I didn't want to surf.
This is why I didn't do this. I'm going to die right now. Like, for sure in my head, I was so certain of death. And I went over the falls, and it was one of those weird wipeouts where it is half a second long, and it shot me to the surface out the back. Like, no beat down, dude. Yeah. And I was just, the release of adrenaline and dopamine I got when I came to the surface, and I realized like, no, people can survive this. Like, you can totally do it.
Yeah.
You can do it like whatever else anyone else can do. That feeling, I was like, I literally made the decision. I was screaming, and Mark was like, that was insane. Like, I'll say, I was just like, this is what I want to do.
Wow.
100%. That's what I want to do. He told me in another wave, I had another wipeout.
Wow. 2 in a row.
Really pounded on the second one, but by that point I had gotten over it. I gotten over the fear, and that feeling of overcoming the fear was insane. Third wave I made, and it was like one of the waves of the day. And I was just like,
history,
bro. I was like, that was like a huge, it made the decision so easy for me. I no longer worried where I was going to go. I knew exactly what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And that was like, I want to be the gnarly big wave guy. I want to chase this big swells. I want to surf the slabs. And it just trajected me into the career that I have now.
And that career is would you potentially say you get more barreled than John?
Yes.
And bigger barrels?
Yes. He's had some crazy barrels, but 100% I am in the barrel much more than him.
Yeah. So you got the tube time.
The WSL calls their tour the Dream Tour. I'm on the Dream Tour.
You beg to differ.
Yes.
You make your own schedule. You go to your own destination.
And I go to the best waves in the world when they are the best waves in the world.
But how would you like, you know what I mean? You can't call it a dream tour when you're going to Bells. Or, you know what I mean? Like, that is definitely not a part of the dream.
No.
Maybe someone else's dream, but,
yeah,
you know, when you're being able to fly to beautiful locations like Fiji, Tahiti, Samoa, Australia, Western Australia, Indonesia, Scotland, Europe, you could just keep going.
Yep, exactly.
The best waves in the world. You get to surf every swell.
I'm just so appreciative that I somehow ended up in this career path.
Yeah.
Having been raised in Hawaii and being a professional surfer.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like we are due for a surf trip together or do something fun.
This summer, let's make it happen.
Yeah, I know we've been like talking about like kind of going back and forth with it, but like nothing's really aligned because sometimes you'll talk the talk when we're in the lineup, and then I'll see you at the place. I'm like, I thought we were gonna go on that trip together, buddy.
You know how it is.
Yeah.
Vlog wars.
Vlog wars. Who gets the most views in surfing?
I'm not telling nobody I'm leaving.
I'm gonna be watching your thumbnails, your titles. I'm gonna be watching every single move you make this summer.
Yeah. Like when you snuck away to Fiji 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I was hurt.
Right? Were you?
Yeah.
That's way too small for Nathen Florence.
I theorized that you were posting old footage, and then someone was like, "No, he's literally in Fiji."
Yeah. You thought I was just like,
that's how comped out I am.
Throwing a curveball.
Yeah.
I think it'd be fun. Maybe a heat. What like that would intrigue me to like really go for it. Is it maybe like me, you, Kelly, and John? Imagine that heat. Just regular foot, like just mayhem.
Be so sick.
I think it would be like probably one of the funnest surfs. And you could probably ask Kelly, and he'd probably say the same thing.
I think Kelly would be super psyched to do it too.
I know that would be like amazing, right?
So it's interesting because there's a few guys on tour that everyone's in comp mode, but there's a few guys that like say the box is going off in Western Australia or the cave in Portugal.
They want
like
it.
Kelly and John, like they'll be a part of those sessions.
Yeah,
they'll be like comp days, and Kelly's like texting me on the side like, dude, the box is firing. Last year I had a 2-hour session, just me and him out. Box was 10 foot.
Yeah.
It was insane.
I know. I've really never scored the box. Like I was talking to Jack about it. I was like, the one time I went out there to try and score it, it turned on shore, and then I came in. There was like a shark sign on the beach. Like,
it is so spooky.
Like
over there.
like 10-foot great white.
We have guys getting bitten here on island in town at Key Wallows.
That was scary, huh?
Just a few days ago.
Yeah, you know, I think the one thing my dad always told me is it's not the ones you see, it's the ones you don't see that are gonna get you. Because like when they want you, they're gonna attack you in a certain way.
That's totally it. If you see it, it meant for you to see it.
Exactly.
They're a predator. They're coming up behind you. And in the video clip, Surfline captured it.
Yeah.
The dude is looking out to sea, and the thing comes from like you think, oh, shallow water they'd never be in.
Yeah.
That water is like 2 or 3 feet deep
It's
on the
super
inside
shallow.
of Key Wallows. The thing comes from the shallows behind him.
Yep.
And grabs him, big ass shark.
Yeah. I heard he's still in the hospital. Whoever it may be. Hope you're healing well and
heal up, man.
Yeah. That's just the thing, right? Is surfing, you know, it's not our playground. You know, that's ran by some other
yes.
some other thing there.
Yep. Totally, dude.
Well, what else? Anything else you got for me? You got any questions for me, Nate? Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, what's next, right? What's next for us? Where does like the obviously we're on the podcast game, but where does the professional surfer go from here that isn't going to be on tour? Like in your opinion, like you're so good with helping out the younger guys, and you want to you have all this experience and advice, and you want to give it,
Yeah.
and you do so often. Like I'll call you sometimes, and we talk for 30 minutes, and we're just like strategizing, theorizing brands. We're like, what is this? What would this be like? What would that be like? The question I see happen a lot from the younger generation is like, how do I become a pro surfer,
Yeah.
but not a competitive one?
It's probably the hardest time I've ever seen in my life to become a professional surfer because like there's only it's I don't know, there's no magazine. So if you don't have a social media presence, you're kind of done. And like even I remember like there was this point that John didn't even want to post on Instagram and like his sponsor's like, "Yo, you have to post." And he's like, "Well, like and it was like being forced on. So it's like if you're being a pro surfer, you need to document your surfs. You need to have a good social media. You got to be very, enlightening with your fans and what they like and what they are like driven to see. You got to respond to comments. You got to have a TikTok. You got to probably have a Snapchat, a YouTube channel, Facebook, and all these different channels that consume so much time and it's just a lot of work, a lot of dedication, a lot of time spent in water. Probably a super mom or a super dad's going to be a part of this journey, or some brothers. It's a grind, it's a hustle, but it's one of the best sports in the world because it always continues to change.
And you think specifically like right now is hard because of like the way the economy is and brand and there's all these cutbacks and these big sponsors are trying to save money and getting bought up all by the same entity.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where it's like, in the surf industry, a lot of these companies try and say they're core and like they're like, "Oh, we're core. We don't sell in Costco. You're such an uncore brand." And then you go down the Target and you see their stuff. You're like, "Come on, you're not core either."
Yeah, totally.
It's like all these companies, I feel like, they've been bought and sold like 10 different times. And like to me, that's selling out. But obviously, if you want to build a brand and stay core, you'll stay core. If you're in it to make a ton of money, you're going to sell out. So like the Billabongs, the Quicksilvers, the O'Neills, the Rip Curls, they all sold out. Like they are all sellout brands. But they have a core. They still have they keep the core of the foundation involved. But yeah, the surf industry goes up and down. It's like one time they're throwing $2 to $5 million contracts out, and now it's like you're psyched if you get a $600,000 contract. Like those same guys that were getting the $2 million contracts are only on 600 grand now. So then there's guys on the CT that maybe are making $60,000 a year, and they're like some of the best surfers in the world. And like all these companies control this, but at the same time, all these companies want to do is see the views. They want to make sure you're getting numbers, eyes on their product, and are you working hard?
Yeah. No, I totally agree. That's great advice to any young guy up and coming. And on top of that is what is it like to like for clothing? Like you are your own brand to the point of you own your own clothing company. Stay
Yeah.
psyched and like you have pressure from your other sponsors obviously, but is there a certain type of freedom when you have your own clothes you get to wear?
I think for me, like starting my own brand, like Stay Psyched, or just even the surf school as well. Like basically, what I love about building my own brands are that I don't feel like if something happened in my surfing career, I'm gonna be left like not knowing what to do with my life. I'll be like, sick. I started a really cool company. We sell merch, and it's a really cool, fun thing that we've started over the years. Like it's always there to support me. And then I'm like, okay, we started a surf school, and like the surf school, therefore could be my fallback. But starting up businesses while you are currently thriving through surfing, and just making it so you're like set up on the back end, because like surfing's the highs of the highs and the lows of lows, and that's why I chose to be like a content creator and building my own platform, is because like no one can deny views and content creation, and I feel like it's been the smartest thing I ever did. Start a YouTube channel is the best, and I'm glad you're on board with me.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for just leading in that too. Like, it's such an inspiration, and it's so smart. Like you said, like it's so strategically smart to set yourself up. Surfers have a shelf life.
Yep.
And you can't control when the high level CEO says, "Hey, cut that team."
Yep.
But when you own most of your own stuff, like you do, like you have that backup plan.
Yeah.
And to
nice.
set yourself up with backup plans and think ahead to when, hey, at some point you could lose those big brands.
Yep.
But you have the backup plan. You can still keep living the dream. That's it, right? Like we live the dream.
Yeah.
We just want to live it till we die.
Well, it's like I think
you don't want it to end early, and then what do you have?
Well, it's like if you're the next $1 million kid, everyone has all these big high expectations on you, and if you don't fulfill everything that what everyone has for you to fulfill, then you let them down, and you're gonna start getting paid a little less money, and next thing you know, you're like, you were the $1 million kid, and now you're doing construction, and so it's like, to, like you said, like to try and outlive the shelf life, it's like, I felt like I've been through like 5 shelf lives. Like I'm like, boom, like young up and coming free surfer, win the Pipe Masters, drop a bunch of epic movies, go through some big dips in the market, lose sponsors, lose my main sponsors, have to sell my house, like, like all these things, like these ups and downs in surfing, but always to be there, like with my right foot forward. I'm like, no matter what it takes, I want to be in surfing forever. And that's my goal.
It's so respectable to see, like, even at this stage in your career, how successful and how well you're still doing.
Hard work.
It gives so much hope to like just any up and coming guy, like you can, if you work hard enough, you can keep the dream alive for a long, long time.
Hard work beats talent all day. And if you got both of them, you're set up for success. Appreciate you, buddy.
Thanks for having me. That was a good time, bro.
Yeah, always a pleasure talking to Mr. Nate Florence. They also have a YouTube channel, and they're on Spotify as well. Check out his YouTube channel and their podcast as well. Yeah.
Thanks, team. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah.
Always good to sit down and chat.
Appreciate you. We should do it again. And
let's do it.
To all the listeners, appreciate you guys, from all across the world. Thank you for, being a part of this epic little journey.
Yep. Thanks for all the support.
Yeah. And for YouTube, don't forget, click the link right here to subscribe right there. Watch more videos. And we'll see you on the next Aloha Friday. That's a wrap, Mr. Nate Florence.
Yes, sir.
All right.